Good morning, everyone. Delighted to stand with you at yet another Graziadio School Health Symposium. I've loved the work that you've done in this room the past several years, but your work is not done. There's still things that need to be discussed, and things worked out in our health system. So important to all Americans, and also important to Pepperdine University, as a matter of fact. I'm going to use about 3.5 minutes of the time allocated to me to tell you just a little bit about Pepperdine University and specifically its students. It probably wouldn't surprise you, but we really do care about our students and want to have individual relationships, individual opportunities to encourage them along the way. And I know we have some students here today, and so I'm going to talk about you for just a moment. Also at Pepperdine, we try to lead thematically. So starting a few years ago, we would choose a theme, we would develop it in all of our speeches and all of our publications. And the first one of those themes that we chose was a hero's journey, believing that our students will have the opportunity in their lives to be heroes, to make better the lives of those around them and to lead in uncommon ways. And they will always take Pepperdine with them wherever they go, a hero's journey. The second theme that we developed was table fellowship, an open table. And we were talking that year about the importance of diversity, about difference of thoughts, and the welcome that we want people to feel when they come to Pepperdine. Each one of you who comes from outside the Pepperdine community, we want you to feel welcome here. And so as you sit at these tables today, it's an open table. And frankly, I hope that not every person that sits at one of these tables agrees with everyone else at the table. I hope you will disagree, and I hope you will disagree without being disagreeable. We try to teach that at Pepperdine, to an open table where everyone is welcome and where anything can be discussed. The theme that we're developing this year is spirited inquiry, and that I think is specifically relevant to what we're going to be doing in this day-long session, the Health Symposium. We need to dive deeply into this issue and look for ways to serve the marketplace better and to serve all Americans better. Spirited inquiry. And then the one that we'll start working on in August of this year is entitled A Third Way, which might interest you. Not the third rail, but a third way. Many institutions hearken back to their founder, and they really try to be true to mission. And it may be a faith mission, it may be a mission of ethics or entrepreneurship. That's good. Other institutions have forgotten that a long time ago and focused just on academic quality and academic prowess. We think at Pepperdine that it doesn't have to be this hand or that hand, but it can be both hands together, that you can do both at Pepperdine to be good according to anyone's academic standards and also true to what your founder had in mind for you many, many years ago. So next year we're going to talk about that, a third way. You don't have to just be good academically or just be true to your mission. You can do both, be good and true. In the category of honor to whom honor is due, and the real reason that I'm standing here is I have the privilege of introducing to you the one who takes the lead in putting this on every year for the George L. Graziadio School of Business. His name is Dr. Gary Mangiafico. Many of you already know and hold him in high regard. So I'm going to share with you the printed resume that's been given to me. Gary is an award-winning scholar and executive professor of leadership and management who's taught at the Graziadio School since 2003. Among his many responsibilities is teaching the school's healthcare management and leadership elective course on contemporary issues in healthcare. He brings more than 20 years of experience leading strategic development operations, integration, and turnaround management, solving complex problems along the way as CEO and COO, and also having served in general management for both startups and Fortune 50 companies. Former Vice President for Johnson & Johnson Healthcare Services, Senior Vice President for Pathmakers, an integrated behavioral health practice management group, Senior Vice President for Apria Healthcare Group, and Chief Executive Officer for CPC Alhambra Hospital. He's been delivering consulting services to corporations, private businesses, and nonprofits since 1989. Gary is a terrific guy. I personally enjoy working with him very much. I'm delighted he's associated with Pepperdine University, and I'm proud that he will be providing the general convening services and the welcome that officially begins this year's Healthcare Symposium. Welcome, please, Dr. Gary Mangiafico.
Good morning. I want to thank President Benton for that introduction, but more importantly for his continued support of this healthcare symposium and the importance of these conversations that we've been holding. It's great to see all of you here. It's been a delight to meet so many colleagues and friends and students with us. And so I'm really excited to be able to welcome you all today. This is our 4th annual symposium on the future of healthcare and continuing our focus on the healthcare evolution in this country. I think when we got started a few years ago, we were hoping to convene and have a good dialogue about the future of healthcare, and we've just continued to see this symposium grow each year and are just delighted at not only the interest, but also the things that have generated off of this. So I'm not sure when we started a few years ago that we thought it would be this successful, but we're certainly delighted that it is and know how important it is to keep this dialogue going to help us all make sense of the myriad of changes going on in this field and the rapid evolution of healthcare, as I said. It takes a lot of, and I also want to say that how proud I am of Graziadio Business School and of Pepperdine University for their support in making this symposium happen each year, along with our Board of Visitors. It takes a lot of vision and commitment, and there's some well-deserved recognition that I'd like to offer out, if you wouldn't mind for just a moment. First, I want to especially recognize our Board of Visitors Healthcare Symposium Subcommittee for their tireless work in making today happen, and a special call out for our co-chairs, Dr. Kathleen Grave and Stephen Cavillo. Stephen is ill, couldn't be with us today, but they have been such great champions along the way. And also, I would be remiss without a special acknowledgement to Mr. John Figueroa, who has really been our sort of founding board supporter and advocate in the building of these programs. So big appreciation. Also critical to today's success in these events each year is our sponsors, who significantly contribute to bring this symposium to fruition. So if the sponsors wouldn't mind just standing, if you would, and getting recognized for your contribution to making today happen. So as you take breaks and so forth, if you run into one of them and they have a little green thing that says sponsor, please take a moment to thank them and express your appreciation on our behalf of their contribution for today. And further, if you'd indulge me for just a moment, I'd like to recognize our dedicated staff team, headed up by Dr. Mark Chun and Christina LaRubio, who, along with Stephanie, Hillary, Lisa, Jamie, and the list goes on of staff behind the scenes who work tirelessly to make this symposium such a great event. Without all of you, there just simply would be no event. So please know how much we are in gratitude to you. And of course, to all of you who are here today, whether this is your first time or you're a repeat attendee, really value and appreciate your support and the fact that you came out. And you know, we're kind of worried about this rain, right? It's supposed to be the storm of the season. I'm not sure that quite came to fruition here in LA, but we were kind of concerned. So really delighted that you got up early and made it through the traffic to get here this morning. We believe that by bringing people together with this combination of passion, hard work, and commitment, along with continued support from all of you attending today, that we'll have an outstanding experience. The Pepperdine Graziadio Future of Healthcare Symposium has quickly established itself over just a few years as one of the premier healthcare events in the country focused on the ever-changing evolution of healthcare in America. It's resulted in many inquiries into the school and invitations out for people who say, you know, what gave you that idea? One of the ideas behind the symposium was that we wanted to talk about the future. We felt as though there was a certain immersion in the sort of lamentations of what's gone wrong with healthcare, what the dilemmas are in healthcare, and et cetera. And we said, well, what if we had a dialogue going not only about the business of healthcare, but the future of healthcare and what that business can generate? And that's really what's led us here today. And it's an important conversation. According to the Medicare and Medicaid services, the U.S. healthcare spending grew 5.8% back in 2015, was up 4.8% in 16, and another 5.4% in 2017. And now get ready for this. It will reach over $5.7 trillion, it's estimated, by 2026, which means a projected growth on average of about 5.6% annually over the next decade. That will bring the annual spending on a per capita basis from $10,000 per person to $16,000 to $17,000 per person by 2026. As a share of the gross domestic product, healthcare spending now accounts for 17.8% of our nation's GDP, but it's projected to outpace the US GDP by 1.2% percentage points. As a result, it's projected also by 2026 that healthcare spending will rise to account for 19.7% of GDP, with that acceleration beginning this year in 2018. We've all experienced numerous changes with the Affordable Care Act, and of course now we're all anxiously watching the tax legislation and the projected reduction in those insured and what that will mean, and particularly to service providers and indigent care, et cetera. So while there are many sides and perspectives on the debate, what we can all agree on is that healthcare is indeed complicated, and that change in our field has never been faster and the stakes have never been greater. I first entered into healthcare as a profession back in 1977, back in the indemnity days, and long before we ever heard of things like managed care and per capita payments and that sort of thing. And just to see the things that have changed over my lifetime has been absolutely amazing. And that pace is, again, going to continue to accelerate. So we're excited to be bringing this important conversation forward today, and to experience the emergent learning that will occur for all of us here as we discuss the impact of healthcare's irreversible migration away from the legacy fee-for-service and volume-based reimbursement models that have dominated since the 80s. We're all challenged to align our economic incentives with the delivery of higher quality and more cost-effective care, along with exciting new innovations that are bringing us into the smart machine age. It's currently estimated that within I want to say it's about 20 years or so. We're having this dialogue at the school and trying to understand what it means to enter the smart machine age, but it's estimated somewhere around 47% of US jobs will be replaced by robots. Of course, healthcare has seen a lot of robotic interventions as a result of surgery, et cetera. And so it'll be interesting to see what transpires over the next 20 years, especially for those who are up and coming in the healthcare industry as they try to reconcile those innovations in the smart machine age along with the delivery of taking care of patients. During the symposium, you will hear from industry leaders how this evolution will impact healthcare stakeholders, both strategically and in the execution of these strategies, as well as how innovation stemming from these changes is changing the delivery channels for patient care itself. As always, and within any industry, as those who are able to see possibilities and accept it, who are able to meet those changes head on and innovate, will not only be able to survive, but they'll be able to thrive in this ever-changing profession we call healthcare. And as you can see from our event today, we will kick off with some really amazing speakers, starting with our keynote, Dr. Vivek Murthy, followed by a break, and then we'll move right into the first of two segments of the day, and closing our afternoon with our second keynote, General Peter Chiarelli. During the breaks and lunchtime, we invite you to network with those in attendance and continue the conversation that will be started this morning with our speakers. As I mentioned earlier, we have a dedicated staff here today, so again, you can recognize them by their badges. I know they're going to be more than happy to help you with anything, so if you have any questions or you might need any kind of support, please feel free to just grab one of them or one of us on the committee, and we'll be happy to try to answer your questions. If all else fails, head back out to the registration table, and I'm sure we can solve anything that might surface for you today.